All right, thanks for joining us. So we got some interesting news out of Keystone Resort as the world's largest mountaintop snow fort has just recently opened to the public.
Located at the top of the River Run Gondola at an elevation of over 11,600 feet, this year's fort is even bigger than the previous made last year at Keystone. The fort reaches a height of 35 feet and covers a quarter acre. The fort took 2 weeks of round-the-clock work to complete the build, which features an ice cave, slides, tunnels, and ice sculptures that are apparently larger than life, so you may want to check those out. The public is allowed to use the fort every day during operating hours by taking the gondola to the Durkham summit, and visitors will need an Epic Pass, Keystone lift ticket, or a Scenic Gondola foot passenger ticket for access. The fort will be open as long as snow conditions allow it. And last year they were saying around April is the time that wrapped up. So if you want to check it out, just make sure you go before April.
So the high school basketball season is starting to pick up here in the Valley, and we'll go over to Vail Christian and Edwards, where the team has a new coach that they're excited about.
Fresh out of Baylor University, the Texan, Savannah Webster, is already making an impact on the Saints girls basketball team.
She's really on top of it and stays on our team, makes sure we're all on it and on time and punctual.
Webster teaches mathematics at Vail Christian, but her passion revolves around the Rock. This is her first head coaching job, and she's taking a unique approach.
She just makes it feel like almost a family, like she's just like our sister basically. It's not more of like I'm better than you because I'm your coach kind of dynamic. It's more of just we're all just great friends, and she makes it fun. She makes us work, but she makes it fun, and yet we're still a disciplined team.
To these girls, Coach Webster is already one of them. She explains fitting into their culture is her intention as the new leader of the Saints program.
I want them to love the sport, and I want them to have fun, and I want to be on their team. And so getting to be with them and let them know I'm not going to ever make them do something that I wouldn't do. I want them to love the sport. I want them to want to come back. I want them to be excited about practicing games. And so that's kind of a goal that I had going in. So
Webster believes winning games will come this season as the camaraderie on her team continues to grow.
Well, CU football in the end of the season may have not performed as well as we had liked to see, but certain players on that team stood out, and one in particular was the center of the focus.
Colorado's sophomore wide receiver and cornerback Travis Hunter was named the recipient of the 2023 Paul Hornum Award, which was announced by the Louisville Sports Commission Wednesday. Hunter has been deemed one of the most dynamic players of the modern era as he successfully played both sides of the ball at the FBS level in a Power 5 conference, which I definitely was shocked to see while watching him play this season, but he's impressive. Hunter did miss 3 games this season due to the injury he sustained against Colorado State in Week 3 at Folsom Field, but he still played the most snaps of any regular season college football player in the FBS. Hunter is the first player in the last 25 seasons with 50-plus receptions and 3 or more interceptions. The only comparable season to Hunter's comes from Georgia's Champ Bailey back in 1998 when he had 47 receptions for 744 yards and 5 touchdowns offensively, along with 3 interceptions on defense. It was a blast watching Hunter play this year at Folsom Field, and I assume he'll only get better and even more involved in the game when next season rolls around, so stay tuned for that.
Along with Travis Hunter, there were other football players here in the Centennial State at the collegiate level that received honors. Trey Taylor, defensive back on Air Force, received the Jim Thorpe Award, which is given to the best defensive back in all of college football.
Taylor is the first ever Thorpe Award recipient from Air Force and only the second Falcon to win a major college football award. Taylor led overall ballots as a 47% first place vote favorite with an average rank winning by only .12 to the runner-up in the nationwide voting. A first-team All-Mountain West selection at safety, Taylor contributed 71 tackles, 3 interceptions, 4 passes broken up, and a first career touchdown. He recorded tackles for loss in 4 games this season for the Falcons, making this his best season yet at Air Force. Taylor posted a Pro Football Focus grade of 82.6 and was credited with allowing just 18 receptions on 31 targets for an average of 10.1 yards per reception. He proved to be a leader for the Falcons this season by also being honored with this year's Defender of the Nation award, which is given to a college football player from one of the nation's service academies based on exceptional leadership qualities on and off the field. Air Force would go on to have an 8-4 season. The Falcons lost their last 4 games straight, which took them out of contention for a Mountain West Conference title, but good enough to earn them a postseason game. They'll match up with 24-ranked James Madison, who's coming off a great regular season in just their second year in the FBS since moving up from the Football Championship subdivision just a season ago. The two will be matching up in the Armed Forces Bowl, and kickoff between Air Force and JMU is slated for December 23rd at 1:30 p.m. Mountain Time.
While the football season may have ended for Northern Colorado, CU, and CSU, other teams around the Centennial State are gearing up for the postseason or are already in the postseason.
Over in Golden, Colorado School of Mines remains undefeated on the year at 14-0 on the season, and the Orediggers have just earned a trip to the D2 National Championship for the second consecutive season. The number 1 team in the country, Mines, will match up against number 3 overall Harding at McKinney Stadium in McKinney, Texas. Mines 14 wins, best last year's team who went 13-3 for the most wins in program history. So they just set a new program record for wins at 14. Pretty big deal there. But Harding is also undefeated this year, making this matchup between the two schools all the more interesting for a title game. That kickoff is going to come at 11 a.m. our time.
Now we'll take a look at some college hoops and how our teams here in the Centennial State are starting to stack up early in the season.
The latest look at the AP Top 25 includes Colorado State sitting in this poll as the number 17 team in the country. The Rams have had an impressive season so far this year and are 9-1, coming off a loss over the weekend to St. Mary's, but should be able to bounce back in their next game, which is against Colorado State Pueblo. Turning our attention now to the flagship school of Colorado in Boulder, CU. The Buffs have played a great season thus far as well. They fell to Colorado State in Fort Collins a couple of weeks ago, and before that they lost to Florida State, but have looked solid since as they've won their last 2 games straight. They have 116 votes, so they sit at the top of the votes next to get in. So if they win this Friday against Northern Colorado, we should see them in the next edition of the AP Top 25 poll for men's college basketball.
With the women's college basketball season in full swing around the country, CU has already done a number on their early season schedule. They've only lost 1 game, and head coach J.R. Payne at the helm only wants to improve on that mark in her 8th season with the Buffs.
Back-to-back trips to the Big Dance confirm head coach of CU women's basketball J.R. Payne is no stranger to success. Now she enters her 8th season at the helm in Boulder.
What have you learned in these past 8 years that you can't wait to implement the most into a new season?
Great question. I mean, I think early on we learned it's really important to be just true to who you are and what you want to be about. And so we've worked really hard to recruit the type of players that we want to be around, kids that are blue collar, hardworking, tough, do their job, be a great teammate. And so that hasn't really changed for us. You know, now that we've really locked into that in the past many years, we've created a culture where we are those things.
Coming off a run to the Sweet 16, Payne's team returned some of the best talent in the conference. She believes preseason all-conference players Jalen Sherrod and Quay Miller will set the tone.
I would say that nobody in the world has higher expectations of ourselves than we do. Like I said, our veterans do a great job of making sure that we're holding ourselves to the standard that we believe we're capable of.
Payne's confidence runs high for the season, which entails a tough non-conference schedule, beginning with the reigning national champions. But the Buffaloes team is hungry for the challenge.
When you look at how tough our schedule is, that tells you how I feel about our team, and our readiness to compete. We talked to our veterans about some of the games that were, put in front of us, and our veterans said, absolutely, we want these games, and so they wanted to be challenged in that way. We'll be prepared.
Payne believes the Pac-12 will be the most competitive conference in women's basketball this season. When league play starts, the Buffs will be ready. CU is set to take on LSU November 6th.
Make sure to continue coming back to us for all the latest sports coverage here in the Valley and beyond. We'll see you next time.